Joseph W. Brady on Spring Valley Lake Golf Course and the upcoming April 24th SVLA election.
Well, the Brian Bickard, the president of the association, very smartly put out an email about 2 weeks ago, telling people that they've got the report in from Mr. Kristovich, that they're reviewing it. The intent, I think, Terry, was they wanted to get it out to the public as soon as possible. I've been brought in under a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, to work in behalf of some of the members of the senior leadership. So specifically Alfred Logan, general manager, Brian Hurst, a board member, Bill Scott, a board member, and the president, Brian Bickard. And while we had some challenges before through the CSD thing, both Brian Hurst and Bill Scott thought it was smart that we kind of joined forces. And I said to him, I can't advocate for the golf deal, although I've been a partner and I've been around the game all my life. So we've signed an NDA. I've gone through the 37-page report that the Citizens Committee did. I've gone through the report that Mr. Kristovich did, a 67-page. They had a 3-page frequently asked question deal that they want to put out. With the help of our staff, I did the easy lifting, but we came up with about 20 pages of responses back to them that we gave them 3 weeks ago, before I went back to Sedona, for them to take a look at, and they have to decide what they want to do next. I believe, based on a conversation I had with Brian Hurst the other day, that they just have received the purchase and sale agreement from Club Corp. They want me to go through it, and then we'll go from there. I think that what's happened, and I'm going to say this, and it may offend some people on out there, and if it does, oh well. There's too many rumors on out there, and there's too many people talking about things that they absolutely have nothing to do with. They absolutely know nothing about. In one of our meetings that I had with those 5 initially, I agreed that as I heard rumors or people contacted me, I would say to them, like I do, can you please send me an email about that, and I would forward it. Well, people don't want to do that, so it's easy to say, hey, I've heard this or I've heard that, and there's all kinds of rumors floating out there. I would say to the homeowners in Spring Valley Lake, if the golf course were to close, and whether you live on the lake or the golf course or you don't, it will have a serious impact on the value of your house. That's just a fact. Mr. Kristovich, in his report, talked about 1,400 and some odd golf courses that have closed and the impact it had. I have suggested to our leadership that they contact Mr. Kristovich and ask him to work with the Golf Foundation. National Golf Foundation is kind of the central depository of all information golf. Okay, I've been to the golf convention down in Florida 25 years ago because I was doing a product, and the Golf Foundation is really the independent place. And I asked them to do a white report, and if the association has to pay for it, I think that they need to pay for it. I think that people need to understand that if this golf course closes, okay, and Club Corp is not under any, and I don't think that Club Corp has to keep it open. I think they want to keep it open because I don't think they want to find themselves on the front page of the Wall Street Journal with a big lawsuit, by a bunch of homeowners or a class action. But the closure of that country club and the browning of that golf course will impact everybody out there. I don't care who it is. So I've had people say, oh, Joe, I've heard that my dues are going to go up $100 a month. I've heard they're going to go up $1,000 a month. I can tell you one thing. The board is very cognizant about the increased costs. What they're also cognizant about is, we've just increased over $1 billion in assessed value, not fair market value, with what Spring Valley Lake is, which I think fair market value is probably closer to $1.8 billion. We are the center of the high desert. We're the only community of its kind, and we have Tapestry starting under construction real soon. So if we think we've got, if we don't think we have any competition today, trust me when John Ohanian opens up Tapestry on Super Bowl weekend in 2023 with 6 national builders. He's told me who the builders are. I can't say who the builders are. I've got to let Mr. Ohanian. So I would tell people, don't be spreading rumors that you don't know. Okay, and I mean I've heard the kind of the wildest. I think that the board is extremely challenged because now you've got 5 people running for 3 slots. April 24th is the vote, and there's a challenge on who comes in. So let's talk a little bit about the vote. So you've got Joanne Romero running, and you've got Mr. Ponce. I had tried to meet with Mrs. Romero a year and a half ago prior to the CSD issue. She refused to, so that got me kind of motivated because I know that their attorney, Stephen Tinley, had told past boards, don't deal with Brady because he might tell you something that might be the truth. So, Steve, if that's not correct, then you can let me know. You can write me a memo. Mr. Ponce, I've never met him, so I don't know much about him. I do know that we have three people. I know Brad Ledner incredibly well. David Stolfus, know well. And then there's CJ
Everso,
who owns the pizza factory over here in Apple Valley, okay? Buys it in COVID, okay, is trying to turn this thing around, building a bar with it. He's a young guy. He went to VVC. He still, spends one day a month in law enforcement out at Serrano High School, okay? He lives here. His, Rocco was like his stepfather. I mean, so he was raised as a young man in Spring Valley Lake. I would tell you this, Terry, that I have worked with Brad Ledner. I know Brad's absolute passion. He is around multi-million-dollar budgets all the time. David Stolfus has lived in Spring Valley Lake for, I think, as long as I have, and he has used every amenity there. Okay, this guy really, deeply, deeply care. They care about the golf course. They care about security. They care about the lake. Okay, not taking anything away from Mr. Ponce and not taking anything away from Mrs. Romero. I think we need some new blood, and I think we need some new blood that is willing to reach out to people. All three of these people reached out to me. And I kind of know them. Rumor, okay. A week ago, I'm walking down the street and somebody pulls me over and says, "Hey, what's this I hear that if you want to be on the board, you have to be interviewed by Larry Hoover and approved by Larry Hoover?" I said, "You don't have to be interviewed by Larry Hoover. You have to be blessed by Larry Hoover." What I said to this person, and I would say it's to Larry, "Hey, Larry, if you think that that's the case, why don't you run? Why don't you go run for the board?" So I don't think that Larry Hoover has a magic wand that's going to determine who's going to be on the board, who's not going to be on the board. I'm encouraging people. One, I'm encouraging just to vote. Okay, we need people to vote. More importantly, we need to get used to voting because we've got the golf course that we're going to have to vote on eventually, and we need a board that can walk together, have tough debates. Very, very. There's going to be some tough debates over this golf course. The other thing we have to remember is that Club Corp is given a very short period of time. I know what that period of time is for us to go vote. So we need a board that will bring people together. Okay. I want to say one last thing. I'm saddened that Robert Reed will not be running again. Robert and I have known each other for 25 years. When we first met, it was not a very good relationship. And his son Chad, when we met, it was not a very good relationship. I will tell you this. I want to thank Robert personally for everything that he has done inside Spring Valley Lake. I've known him a long time. One of the most selfish, selfless people I've ever met. The Veterans Monument that he built next to Spring Valley Country Club, I think he stole $10,000 out of his pocket. He doesn't go out and sell stuff. When Robert cares, when he does something, he just goes and does it. So he's passionate about the park. He's passionate about a couple things that I hope that some of the people running will take into account. I think that the board has made a mistake by trying to silence him because he does know a lot, and why they did not utilize all of his experience, I don't know. But I would suggest to Brad and to David and to CJ, if you get in, if two of you get in and three of you get in, I would use Robert as a place to call, sit down and reach out to him because he really does bring passion. Let's talk about the MAC.
Actually, we'll talk about the Municipal Advisory Council on our next report. Thank you for joining us this time around.
It's a great tool. So after we defeated the proposed CSD,